Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this, the final edition of On the Mark for 2024. I'm Mark Brantley, welcoming you to another edition of this show, and I start by thanking all of you who have been part of this show for the past year. There are many who call, many who share their thoughts, many who are on the live feed and commenting, many who don't comment but let me know nevertheless that they do listen to the show regularly. Let me greet the people here in Nevis, those in St. Kitts, those who are all across the Caribbean who listen to this show, particularly our Nivision and Kittitian family in the diaspora, those who are in the United States and Canada, those in the United Kingdom. Wherever you are this evening, good evening to you, and welcome to this edition of On the Mark, straight talk across the Narrows. We start the show on a sad note. On my way here, I learned of the passing of my friend Amaral Weeks. People who knew Amaral, they knew her as Kitchener. She and my mother, Vicky, were very, very close friends. And Amaral, of course, was a lifelong supporter of the Concerned Citizens movement. It is particularly sad because her loss just last week we laid to rest her brother, Edric Stanley. And so the family has had to suffer two losses in such a short space of time. Amaral was at the flamboyant home in her final days, and I knew that she was being well cared for by her children and those who loved her and those who were close to her. And so I would want to express to the children in particular, but also to the extended family and to the entire community of Bath, where she made her home all of these years, my deepest and sincerest condolences. Amaral was a plain speaker. I love the way she used to give me advice politically. She always knew what was happening, and she was really a very, very good person. And so I want to join all of us in offering prayers for the family at this difficult time, and to hope and pray that they will find some solace and some comfort in the prayers of us all. While I'm on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we got the very sad news today that there was yet another fatal accident on the roads in St. Kitts. This accident, I'm told, caused the death of 3 persons. And so 3 people would have died on St. Kitts today from that road fatality. That follows on just about a week ago, where 2 young people, I'm told only 19 years old, that both of those young people perished in another accident on the roads in St. Kitts. It means, therefore, that in this month alone, we've had 5 deaths on the roads in St. Kitts. It is incredibly sad, because when people leave home, they go out to work, they go out to an event, we expect them to return home safely. I want to use this forum to express my profound sympathies to the families that are mourning, to the families of those 2 youngsters who were only 19, I'm told, a male and a female, and of course to those who perished today. I want to extend my condolences to their family and their friends. I also want to extend best wishes to those who have been injured and who even now might be hospitalized for a speedy recovery. I am asking for the prayers of all of St. Kitts and Nevis, those at home, those abroad, in support of these families at this very difficult time. As a road user myself, as somebody who has a family and many friends who are road users, I know how tragic it must be to have one's life cut short in an instant. The impact that has on those left behind. And it is something that can happen literally in an instant. As we are driving on the roads, sometimes we have to drive for ourselves and for others, because others can sometimes be careless even when we are trying to be careful. And so again, I extend my deepest condolences. I, however, wish to say this on record. We are seeing too much foolishness on the roads in St. Kitts and Nevis. We are seeing too much recklessness on the roads in St. Kitts and Nevis. We are seeing too many people willing to break the law on the roads in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I believe that it is time now for those who have the responsibility to enforce our traffic laws to do their job. On the island of Nevis, we have had a perennial problem with large trucks, many times carrying large loads, speeding on our roads. Trucks which are several tons, and we know that heavily loaded, they cannot stop if they're required to do so in an emergency. They can't stop quickly. And sometimes when I see them speeding, coming from the hills, coming from the quarry, and coming into town, coming down Churchground Hill, coming there across the area there by Best Buy in Gingerland, and I said, an accident is waiting to happen. Just recently I happened to be on the bypass road, and as I'm driving on the bypass road here in Nevis, a trailer carrying a bulldozer passed me at such a speed that I thought there was a risk that the back would go out of control, because the heavy bulldozer is on the back of this trailer and the speed at which this driver was traveling. I believe that it is time for our traffic department to get serious and to do what they need to do in terms of ensuring that our people are adhering to the traffic laws, adhering to the safety standards, wearing their seatbelt, not being on their mobile phone, ensuring that their cars are roadworthy, ensuring that they adhere to the speed limit. Let me ask this question. When was the last time you saw the police out with their radar guns checking for speed? When? I know years ago we invested in radar guns, and I know that the police were using them at some point. But when was the last time? The last time that I'm aware that the police were engaged in stops, it had largely to do with tint. I don't think that the police were just there for that. But nevertheless, I'm told in Nevis over 200 people got ticketed for various tints or traffic offenses. I have made the argument over and over. It may not be a popular argument, but I've made the argument nevertheless, because it is true that in many countries the traffic department is a source of revenue for the police and for the government. Traffic departments in many parts of the world are self-funded, and officers are encouraged to hand out tickets in order to help fund the activities of the department and the police. Not to hand out tickets that are not deserving, but to hand out tickets to those who are offending against the law. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that all of us have had the experience of being on our roads. Our busmen, who drive passenger buses and who are the backbone of our transportation sector, who in many instances take our children, they take our young people, they take our workers to and fro. And some of them are also responsible for some of the most reckless driving that we can see on our roads. They're competing with each other, racing with each other in order to get to the next stop so that they can get more passengers perhaps than the other. But what about the passengers? A bus that is full is probably carrying 14 to 16 passengers. When that accident happens with that bus, it is not just the bus driver who's speeding. It's also all those people in that bus who are put at risk. And I'm not meaning to single out the bus drivers particularly, but I think it is true that many of us see bus drivers on the road, and we know that many of them do not drive in a fashion that is responsible. Music is blaring, speeding on the roads, and these are the same bus drivers, who continue to demand that they want increase in bus fare. Well, I don't begrudge them an increase, because the cost of living has gone up. Cost of diesel has gone up. The cost of parts, no doubt. The cost of wages for the bus drivers, no doubt, have gone up. But if you are to demand more for your service from the public, then you have a corresponding responsibility to offer the public a safe, courteous, and reliable service. People when they come into the buses to go home, must have some level of assurance that they'll reach home safely. Equally, those who are driving on the roads, and I know that many cars are coming into the island now. As a people, we've shied away from difficult conversations. And so people say that they ought to have the right to buy as many cars as they like. And if somebody were to suggest otherwise, then of course the retort that comes is, you don't want a poor man to own a car. And so we continue to order cars from the internet, $1,000 US, $2,000 US, whatever it may be. They arrive on Nevis, many of them, and on St. Kitts, many of them don't last 2 years. The individual's decision to acquire that car then becomes the nation's responsibility to dispose of it. And that is why across this island you see so many abandoned cars on our roadways, on our empty lots, breeding mosquitoes, breeding rodents, and providing hiding places for those bent on criminality for their guns and ammunition and contraband. We need to have these conversations. Is this good for our country? Is this good for our environment? But beyond that, as the number of cars grows exponentially, this year alone into Nevis, we will get, based on the projections, at least 800 additional cars on our roads in 2024 alone. That does not yet include the vehicles that you're getting from Hosfords and TDC, etc. And we know that during VAT days that are coming up, perhaps another 100 plus will be sold on Nevis. So you're talking nearly 1,000 new vehicles on the roads in Nevis in 1 year. We have been investing in our road infrastructure. The roads now are smooth. They don't have the potholes of the past. And so people are again minded to speed. Many people on this island have high performance vehicles. But the island is only 20 miles, the island main road. The island of St. Kitts is not much bigger than we are, just about twice the size. And so it begs the question, why are we speeding on our roads in this fashion? Where is it we are so anxious to go? Nowhere on the island of Nevis will take you more than 20 minutes to get to. Nowhere. From no point on the island to some other point, even the furthest point, will take more than 20 minutes. So, why the need for the speed? And all of you out there who are listening to me know what I'm talking about, because all of us experience it. I came along some nights ago there in the area of Indian Summer, in that Cotton Ground Cades Bay area there. And I actually pulled my vehicle to the side onto the grass because there were four cars racing on that road. And the speed at which they passed me, I felt my car move. Four of them racing, one after the other, they sped past me. Now what if you're coming along in the opposite direction with your family? A young mother, a pregnant woman, you're bringing your children from school, the church bus loaded with people coming from service, and there was a collision. Then when it happens now, you hear everybody start to bawl, Lord, 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 Lord. And then they call me as the premier and they start to abuse me and say, I must have an airplane standing by. I must have more equipment at the hospital. I must have this. I must have specialists to treat brain injury. I must have all of those things. When we could avoid these things simply by our people behaving responsibly. All year I've been using that term, that word, asking our people to behave responsibly. And more, ladies and gentlemen, the people of St. Kitts and Nevis are behaving as if they just do not care. They're on the road, they're rushing. Where are they rushing to? Springfield Cemetery? Britannic? Where are they rushing to? And when they are rushing and their rush and recklessness results in your loved one being lost, how can they replace a loved one that is lost? And the answer is they can't. So I am really appealing to our people. I am saying to our people that these road fatalities that we're hearing about, while I don't have the facts in terms of how they happened, I am appealing to our people that we may not have any more. Because if we drive on our roads in a sensible, prudent and responsible manner, we look out for ourselves on the roads, but we also look out for others on the road, then I feel that we will have a much better record. I mean, could you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, the anguish of families going into Carnival and Christmas and their loved ones snatched from them in this horrible way? Could you just imagine that? I have 2 daughters, and I reflected that if they had gone out for a night out with friends, and my house phone were to ring with the news that they were no more, I don't know if I could survive. And I believe it is a feeling that most of us would have. Any of us who has some empathy, any of us who has love of people, any of us who has children of our own, and even if you do not have children, you will understand. And so I am praying, I am beseeching, I am begging our people. Let us drive responsibly within the limits set by the law and in accordance with the law. I am appealing to our police and our traffic department. Enforce the law. Enforce the law. I hope, with the grace of God, to be able to speak in the National Parliament as the leader of the opposition when the Parliament convenes for the budget sessions next Monday. I believe if the usual protocols are followed, that I should speak as the first speaker on Tuesday morning, with the grace of God. And I want to take some time to address this then in the National Parliament, because there is too much foolishness, too much lawlessness that is being allowed. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, that there are people on this island of Nevis who should know better, who have vehicles that are private, that is, they have a P plate, but nevertheless are in the business of renting those vehicles? And when the law now cracks down, the government gets serious. These are the first people to cry out and say the government is this and the government is that. P-plates being rented as if it was a car rental agency. I feel that there are too many people engaged in lawlessness. You know, we have a tendency that we castigate the man who breaks into somebody's house. We castigate the fellow who goes into one of the supermarkets and takes up something to eat. He must go to prison. But some of the people who are engaged in some levels of illegality somehow are allowed to walk free. And I am saying that it is time as a community. We hear all its flowery language about sustainability and we need the best island state in the world, and I agree with all of that. But we cannot achieve that if our people are not on board, and if our people continue to do things that are irresponsible and in many cases illegal. We cannot achieve it. And we must now start to adopt a zero tolerance policy in relation to these matters. Some years ago, Rudy Giuliani in New York, at a time when he was revered as America's mayor, not just New York. New York had a bad problem with crime. I remember as a youngster being in New York, getting on the number 2 train from East 174th Street going down into Manhattan. Used to get off at Times Square. And the level of graffiti on the trains, busted windows on the trains, people even relieving themselves in the train, garbage everywhere, rats everywhere. And then Giuliani came in and he adopted a zero tolerance policy. Even for jaywalking, people got a ticket. You know what jaywalking is? If you cross the street otherwise than at a pedestrian crossing, you got a ticket. In the summertime, it gets rather hot in New York. We used to sit, my brothers and I, and a few friends, on the steps at my father's house on Vice Avenue. And we used to be there, we'd have a cooler sometimes with beers and we're drinking, having a chat, enjoying ourselves on a hot summer day. Years later I went back and that was no more, because you would get ticketed if you were breaching the law. We had Labor Day in Brooklyn. Big event. People go down there with all kind of bacchanal, they wine up, they drink up, they do all kinds of things. And then there used to be violence, stabbings, shootings. Went back years later. If you want to drink, it had to be in a brown paper bag. You could not have any alcohol showing. You could not have any open bottle at some point. And they have slowly cracked down. It is not that I am suggesting somehow that we need a police state, because nobody wants that, including me. But we need to inculcate in our people the need for us to be respectful of the law and to be law abiding. And it pervades all facets of what we do. There's some people in Nevis refuse to pay their taxes. They're not paying, even though the law says what they ought to pay. And unfortunately, there are lawyers in Nevis among that group. I said it in the parliament and I could say it here on One Radio because it is true. Refuse to pay. And when the Inland Revenue seeks to engage with them, you know what the response that some of them have given? Oh, they are bringing cases against the government. So there is some conflict on the part of the government to ask them for their information so that the people of Nevis can collect their taxes. These are the same people with the chorus, you know, up and down saying how this needs to be fixed and that needs to be fixed and the hospital needs to be finished and roads need to be done and electricity needs upgrading and water needs upgrading, but they are refusing to pay their taxes. There's too much lawlessness happening in the country. Too many people who think that the law doesn't apply to them. And one of the great things I love about the United States and other countries around the world, is that they have demonstrated time and time again that nobody is above the law. Nobody is above the law. Just tonight, I'm looking at the news, and no less a person than the president of South Korea had his premises searched today, and some suggestion that he has either been arrested or might shortly be arrested for some offenses he's alleged to have committed. The president, I feel that if we are to develop, we must inculcate in our people a respect for the rule of law, a respect for law and order, a respect for decency, a respect for responsible behavior. I have spoken here and elsewhere about the habit of people driving along, eating the food, throw the container out the window. It is against the law. And I am not sure, ladies and gentlemen, why it is that we need to be ticketed, charged, locked up, in order for us to appreciate the value in following the law. So when we speed on the road and we kill somebody's child, we speed on the road and we maim and cripple somebody, you think sorry is going to cut it? You think sorry will be enough? It is time for us to really do some self-searching, because we are very good at finding the fault in others. We are less good at finding it in ourselves. But if we are to change as a society, if we are to evolve, if we are to get better, then we must start with us and do what is necessary to ensure that we have the decency kits that we need. And so I don't want a soul to call me and tell me how police get them a ticket or the warden get them a ticket. Follow the law. Follow the law. We made it easier. For example, a lot of people used to go to jail and get charges for having a little ganja, marijuana, sensimilia, herb, kush, whatever you want to call it. And the government, in its wisdom, said, and I supported it, said, let us not criminalize simple possession, simple use of this natural plant. And so we amended the law to say that people could grow up to 5 trees in their yard, and they could consume marijuana, use marijuana, if it's in a private setting. That is, if they're in their home, if it's Rastafarians and they're at their place of worship, you could consume marijuana there. What do the young men do in response? Every corner they could find in Charlestown and Bastille, that's where they're smoking the weed. Because the marijuana somehow is better. The meds is better if you're doing it on 4th Street than if you do it home. The high is better if you're there in the square in town than if you do it at home. And then the response you get sometimes is people say, well, the police need to enforce. And I agree. I agree that the police need to enforce. But what about us? What about us? I ask the question all the time. Why is it that most people do not steal? Why is it that most people do not steal? Is it because they fear that they will be caught? Or is it because they know that it is wrong to do it and therefore they do not do it? That's the question. And I suspect that the answer is some people don't steal because they're afraid to be caught. And there are some people who do not steal because they know it to be wrong. It'll be interesting when the lines open for you to opine on how you see it. But I end this aspect of what I'm saying tonight by appealing to our people. Please, be responsible, drive responsibly, follow our laws. We just spent nearly $800,000 on the Bath Stream. Everybody who's coming wants to take a photo there. It has been transformed into an oasis of peace and calm and beauty. We introduced some rules there. We have said to people, listen, you can't come into that facility naked. Grown men and women want to bathe naked in the facility. Please do not do that. And the facility is closed at night. If you want to do that in the pools there, that's a matter for you. But please, during the opening hours, when the general public is about, tourists and others are about, do not take off all your clothes. Nudity is against the law in Nevis. Public nudity, that is. So we've asked that people not do that. We've asked that people not eat and drink in the pools and throw down their garbage in the pools and be unsanitary in the pools, relieving themselves in the pools. We've asked all of that of our people. And I am so amazed to say tonight that some individuals have made it their business to go to the Bath Stream and cross out the security, cross out the management, cross out the people working there. One person I'm told was there recently, and the most bad word that you could imagine they gave the people. Tell them that the improvements we've done, they say, are for tourists and not for local people. I am not sure what that means. Because local people deserve the best that Nevis has to offer. And I have said, as the premier of this island, whatever I do on this island, I do it first and foremost for our people. If foreigners come and enjoy it, praise be to God. But our people, first, they must feel good going to the Bath Stream, sitting down reading a book, writing some poetry, doing a painting, walk with their easel and do a painting. What we have created on this island, we have done it for our people. And if people visit our island and they enjoy it too, then praise be to God. We do what we do for us. So when the staff there is to be berated because they're people who insist on doing what they want to do, regardless of the damage or the detriment that it causes to everybody else. You have people on this island going to a residential community, set up a old garage shop. Going to a residential community, set up a welding shop, a DJ booth, noise can done. One lady reported to me, she said, when the neighbor turns on, her whole roof starts to bounce, like she's in a bouncing castle, as the noise reverberates in her house. Where is our empathy for each other? Where's our understanding for each other? Because no man is an island. And we should not be trying to do to other people what we would not want done to us. You know how difficult it must be when you come home from a hard day's work. There's some people in Nevis, especially young people, who are working 2 jobs. Some have 3. And when you pull 2 shifts and you come home and you're exhausted and you want to rest, for a man next door in your residential neighborhood say, he sand a car, or he power washing something, or he welding something, and you can't sleep in your own house that you're paying for. These things aren't right. And everybody comes to the government must do, the government must do, but I'm asking our people, do what you know is the right thing to do. It is not only the government that has a responsibility, our people equally have a responsibility. And so I urge our people to act responsibly. In all that they do, to act responsibly. Men, if you have your children, go support them financially, emotionally, and every illy that you can find. Nobody go have picnic that you know you can't support, because that 2 minutes of fun, and for some it's 30 seconds of fun, that is going to lead to a lifetime of responsibility. If you know you can't handle it, you're not ready for it, there are ways to prevent it. Responsible behavior. Ladies, stop with the 5 and 6 and 7 picnic for 4, 5 and 6 different people. It really makes no sense, because at the end of the day, the only thing that you're doing is ensuring that the cycle of poverty is perpetuated and continued. We cannot have that in our community. Be responsible. You want to have your fun, then have your fun. But you can have fun responsibly. Fellas, especially our construction workers, in Nevis now you're making good money. When you come on Friday with your pay packet, make sure if you're going to go to the bar, you're going to go to some other place to spend money, that you have in one of your side pocket, that you're not going to touch your money to take care of your responsibilities, your child support, your NEVLEC, your water department, your food. That is how we need to start to talk to our people, straight and direct. No filter, no sugar coating. For a long time, and I blame us, the politicians, as well. We have been trained to tell people what they want to hear, because you're begging a vote. So don't disrespect the man by telling the man what he needs to hear. He's behaving irresponsibly. Tell him, boy, I understand. I understand. You got 6 children from 6 different women. You can't support none. Lord, I hear you cry. I hear you cry. And if you're in opposition, you tell him it's the government fault, because the government get them 6 women pregnant. So you add that is the government fault. The government not doing enough for you, right? Rather than telling him, listen, a real man doesn't behave in that fashion. This is the kind of conversation that we need in the country. Real conversations with our people. We got too many people doing foolishness and then want somebody else to bear the responsibility of their foolishness. Them tell you, play me a big man, me a big woman, you can't tell me what I'm supposed to do. Alright? But if when you done the way you're supposed to do, then you must equally, as a big man and a big woman, accept the responsibility. Because every action has consequences. You can't say that you're a big man or a big woman when it comes time for action. But when the consequences come, it is somebody else's problem. Nobody help me. Me got to pay me bills. Nobody help me. Well, who's supposed to help you? Who? These are some of the things that I think we need to have that conversation with our people. And to have an honest and direct conversation. So I will leave that there. I want to say one other small matter, and then I'll open the phones, because this is Christmas. We had the budget debates last week, and I asked the good people at Von Radio to play on last Wednesday's show my budget address. You will have heard that. I'm not going to go over that. But I wanted to speak just for 2 minutes on the opposition's response to the budget. And we know that we have 2 oppositions, because the Honorable Janice Daniel and the Honorable Cleon Stapleton are both on opposition benches, but they're not together. Both would have spoken. And we heard the criticisms because we understand some in opposition feel that that is their duty. With regard to Cleon Stapleton Simmons, she placed the blows, but I do give her some credit because at least she tried to offer some alternative views and suggestions and solutions. In the case of Janice Daniel Hodge, it was just criticism after criticism. I didn't hear one solution proffered by her. But that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point that I want to make is this: that Janice Daniel Hodge spent quite a bit of time speaking to the CCM record in office. She made allegations of wastage, of corruption, of various forms. I had no difficulty with that because my view is that records are there to be examined. And the best way that you can tell whether a government is performing or not is to examine its record. And so she had every right, in my respectful view, to look at our record in office and to examine it. Her conclusions with respect, in many instances, were absolutely absurd. But nevertheless, it was her right to look at the CCM record in government. So in my rebuttal, summation of the budget, I did, I think, what any logical individual would do. I turned the spotlight now on the NRP's record in government. And so she made reference to CCM racking up debt. I referred to the NRP's record in relation to debt. I explained how the Resthaven acquisition ill-advised. And by the way, it was not an acquisition by way of agreement, it was a compulsory acquisition. That acquisition and the difficulties that ensued led to a considerable debt burden now for the people of Nevis. I explained my joy and satisfaction that the good member now had an auditor's report from which she could read and which spoke to the performance of the government, the fiscal performance, because for 7 years under an NRP administration from 2006 until 2013, not once did they do what the Constitution requires of them and put in place an audited report. Laid it in Parliament so that the Parliament and the nation could know what the numbers look like and what expenditure was being made. And then I went to the audited reports that we had to recreate after we got into office. So we imagine when we got back into office in 2013, we had to ask the auditors, look at 2006, come forward and produce audited reports for us to bring us back into constitutional rectitude. And so I looked at those reports and said, well, here you are criticizing the CCM for some over expenditure in the Premier's ministry, but look here. In your time you had 5 ministries that was spending over, and where the expenditure that you describe as wanton wastage was $200,000 or $300,000, here you had $3 and $4 million in over expenditure in some ministries on the NRP. Now, I recognize that whenever people from the NRP speak about their achievements, they go all the way back to the coming of the 4 seasons 34 years ago, and they say that was a triumphant moment for the NRP under our national hero Sir Simeon Daniel. They say Sir Simeon brought the Bank of Nevis. Sir Simeon introduced 6th form education. And I said, you know what? All of that is true. And if I were in the NRP shoes, I would talk about that at the top of my voice as well. Because that is the record of the NRP. So imagine my consternation when after the budget debate, all the talking heads from NRP start up with this Sankey. That it was wrong of me to look at their record in office. They said, don't look to the past, you must only look forward. Well, I thought that was a fascinating approach. Because when they want to talk about the successes of NRP, they go back 34 years to the Four Seasons. But I am talking about the new NRP, the recent incarnation of the NRP. And they say I ought not to speak of those dark days between 2006 and 2013. Don't talk about those days, they say. That is looking to the past. We will talk about 34 years ago when Four Seasons came. But you shouldn't talk about 2006 to 2013. And so I marveled because they want to cherry pick their record. Hold up the good things as shiny symbols of what they can do. But push all the terrible things that they did under the rug. And say, don't talk about those. Don't talk about they used to round up Guyanese and other foreigners and chase them off Nevis. Don't talk about that. That's the past. And then somebody reach out to me and say, Lado is a new leader. New leader? I saw the thing work. So if you're a leader, but it's the same old band, look at the people in the NRP. Who's the chairman of NRP? Who are the main spokespeople for NRP? You may have changed the leader, but I don't even know if the leader is leading NRP. Because all the people around are the same. I even see the former premier, Mr. Parry, jump on Facebook the other day. I didn't know he had Facebook. Placing some blows on CCM. The same old khaki pants. So you have to, listen, you cannot, tell fellas all the time. If you go out there and you meet a young lady who has a child, don't bother think that you're going to become friendly with the young lady and leave out the child. Because you have to take care of mother and child. Young women, if you see a gentleman out there with a child and you go after that gentleman, don't bother feel you get the man without the child. You got to take care of father and child. You can't expect to get the calf and not the cow. You can't expect to get the cow and not the calf. The two go hand in hand. So you have to expect that when you take over a party, you take the good, the bad, and the ugly. I can't, as leader of CCM, say, it wasn't me who do that, it was Van Sammy who do that and whatever. No. If it is you disagree with what was done, you must stand up. You must tell the people of Nevis that I disagree with that, and I apologize to the people of Nevis for that happening. But you can't tell me that it is all right for you to look to my record in government, but I ought not to look to your party's record in government. Because the past is a very good indicator, ladies and gentlemen, of what the future will look like if you don't learn from it, if you don't know it. And some people are trying to hide from their past. They don't want any conversation about their past. But the past is the best indicator. One fella say, oh, CCM been in there now all these years. Stop talk about NRP. Sounds very convenient. But I reminded him, as I remind us now, that slavery was 200 years ago. But the effects of slavery are still being felt to this day. You think you can tell the Jewish people to forget about the Holocaust? World War II ended in 1945. By my math, 1945, that was 79 years ago. You can't tell the Jewish people that they ought not to talk about the Holocaust because that was the past and they must only look to the future. You can't tell black people that the genocide of slavery was the past and we must now only look to the future. In politics, we look at every aspect of the record. And so I just wanted to clear up that and to make it pellucid that nobody is going to stop the CCM from examining the NRP record in office. That is our right to do, just as it's the NRP's right to examine the CCM's record in office. Let me measure them, record to record. That's how people are helped in making a decision as to who they think is better to lead the island of Nevis. I make one other point which I really should not have to make. But I believe that the school children will agree that the performance of the NRP leader in the parliament was the worst budget presentation. It lasted for just over 2 hours, but it was painful. The 45 minutes that she did on her first budget presentation was far better than his 2 hours plus, because she spoke slowly, like when we learn to read, see, spot, run. See, spot, jump. She repeated herself incessantly, and she was constantly flustered, did not know what she's doing, what she's looking for. The worst performance that I've seen, bar none. But she made a presentation. Now, in order to seek to justify why the performance was so bad, again the NRP talking head started to say that she only got the budget that day and she ought to have received it weeks ago. So I want to go tonight, for those who don't understand the process, to explain. I was in opposition here in Nevis from 2006 until 2013. I was in opposition in St. Kitts from 2007 until 2015. I'm back in opposition in St. Kitts now. I'm in government in Nevis. When you are in opposition, the only time you see the budget address is when it has been delivered in the parliament. All the years under Joseph Parry as Premier and Minister of Finance, when he delivered his budget right there at the Nevis Island Assembly chambers, I had to go, Van Samry had to go, Jean Harris had to go and take our book from the box that is being distributed to the public. That's when we got it. When he said, "Madam President, I so move," and sat down. If it took 3 hours, 4 hours, after he was finished is when we got it. In St. Kitts, when I was leader of the opposition, when Dr. Denzil Douglas as Prime Minister and Minister of Finance was finished, that's when I got the budget address and the estimates. That's when I became Premier of Nevis, I introduced in the Nevis Island Assembly the practice of handing every parliamentarian, including opposition parliamentarians, a copy of the estimates and the budget address as soon as the parliamentary session starts that morning. So when they come in and they sit down at their desk, there is a package waiting on their desk for them, which includes all the documents that they need for the budget debate. What that does, it allows all parliamentarians to read along and to make their notes in the margins as they go along, as opposed to the situation that hitherto existed in Nevis, where opposition only got a copy after it had been delivered. So I, in fact, created a situation which is more beneficial to the opposition because they get it at the start of the parliament, not at the end of the parliament. And so when I hear the ludicrous argument that Dr. Daniel Hodge should have received the document weeks ago, I didn't even receive it weeks ago because it's a document that is worked on by the Ministry of Finance. But where in the history of parliamentary debate and practice in St. Kitts and Nevis does that happen? But the truth is, you see, if you know what is going on in the island and in the country, and you understand that budget debates are at large, you have far more leeway than you would ordinarily do, then you ought to be adequately prepared because you are au fait with the issues. If cost of living is an issue, if crime is an issue, if there's been some scandal in the country that you wish to speak to, if there are wars and rumors of wars that are happening, you ought to be prepared because you know what is happening in the country. I can speak because I was in opposition for a while and no budget ever took me off guard. I don't know what Dr. Drew is going to say next week. I am going to find out after he's done and I get a copy of the budget speech. But you think that's stopping me from preparing? I understand what is going on in the country. I understand what my vision as leader of the opposition is for the country. I understand what ideas I have that I can share in order to build this country. Because notwithstanding that I'm on the opposition benches, I still have a role to play in offering my ideas and my solutions to the problems that we face. That's why people elected me. Not just to cuss, but to offer an alternative. And so I just wanted to clarify that and to leave that matter there. I've been speaking for an hour. I know people out there who want to wish each other Merry Christmas and all that. And so I will now open the lines. I hope that many people will call. And so I will turn the show now over, the next half of the show, to our callers. The numbers are 869-469-1616 and 1700. Let's go to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Michelle, good night. How are you doing?
Good evening, my dear. It is lovely to hear you.
Okay. Sympathy going out to Carriel and Desroy on the passing of their mother, Amaral Weeks. 1 Corinthians 16, verse 34, 35, and 36. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His love endures forever. Cry out, save us, God, our Savior. Gather us and deliver us from the nations, that we may give thanks to your holy name and glory in your praise. Praise be to the Lord, the God of Israel, from everlasting to everlasting. And all the people said, Amen, and praise the Lord. Good night.
Thank you very much for that, and I wish you and the family a wonderful Christmas. I want to thank you for calling in each week with a scripture of your choosing, and to thank you so much for being a part of this show over the course of all these years that we've been here. So we're taking your calls, ladies and gentlemen. We have an hour to go in this, our final show for 2024. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call. Now, while I wait for the phones are ringing. So let's go back to the phone then and see if we can take these calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Premier.
Good evening to you.
Thank you. I received this thing from you very early and bright. Yeah. I want to thank the general public for supporting the launch of Nevis Blind Light and Visually Impaired Society, and especially those persons who bought tickets. We always appreciate them. However, we have to also appreciate persons who made donations. And so we are very glad for the donations, whether it was financial, fish, whatever, especially a fisherman from Bath, I don't know who it is. I guess whoever it is, they might be listening. I want to say a special thank you because you helped to rescue us at the last moment. Not that we didn't have any fish, but we were down. We were really in need of them. And so persons who donated bottles, as I said, food boxes, chicken, whatever, spare ribs, whatever it might have been. Because mutton, yeah, to mutton. Sometimes when you start to call out different things, you tend to leave out something that you should have really, talked about. So I'm very grateful on behalf of the society. I want to say to persons who are accustomed to go to the bank to collect your envelopes, please do that starting from tomorrow. You know your point person, Ms. Cabot, Nevis Cooperative Credit Union. So please make sure you go, that you can get your envelopes collected before Christmas. We try to make sure we even extra days ahead. I want to say something, Mr. Brantley. Persons who haven't paid, please pay. Because it's just $30 for the lunch. And I don't want to say too much about that. Some persons may have taken tickets. You might have forgotten. But please, remember us. Because we do these lunches and whatever we do so that we can have our programs done. Thank you, Mr. Brantley. You have a blessed Christmas and a healthy New Year to you.
Thank you very much. I was listening to you and listening to your appeal. I want to say thank you very much for your support of this show over the years. Thank you for using this platform to advertise the excellent work that you're doing. I am very, very proud of the effort that you continue to make, and I'm happy that we were able to make a small donation to the cause. And you are always welcome to advertise and to speak to your causes on this show. You've been with us for many, many years. I think when people hear this voice, you don't even need to say who you are. People recognize the voice.
Guess so.
So thank you very much, and I wish you and your family a blessed Christmas and a wonderful New Year when it comes.
Thank you. And by the way, Mr. Brantley,
Yes.
I want to appeal to persons in the public. We need members in the organization. Nevis Blind, Light and Visually Impaired Society, you do not have to have a visual problem to be a part of the organization. We have persons out there who they have children, whoever encourage them. They could be in their late teens, 20s, whatever it is. Because I am quite elderly now. Me have seen a citizen long time. At 70 me going to be next month. The Lord help me still a step up and down. But I long for the day when I can step aside as being the leaders of the group. Some of us are elderly now. But we are still trying our best. And so we need others to be a part of it. And you don't have to be ashamed, as I just say, if you have a disability. Because disability could happen to anybody. And that is why my heart goes out to the people in St. Kitts who have lost loved ones.
Yes.
Over the past days. Even today, you get up this morning and we just do not know. Sometimes we go on with some kind of things, as human beings and so. But sometimes we really need to take a little back step. And so I want to wish the family well, especially one who I understand was the only breadwinner. We don't talk to God about the family today. Plead the blood of Jesus over every one of them. And over the country. St. Kitts and Nevis really need a lot of praying for right now. I don't know what is going on. But God, you are able. And you will continue to keep us. Christmas will be a dark Christmas for many people. And only God knows who will live to see Christmas and what state we will be in. But we just have to trust God and live until. Have a good evening again, Mr. Brantley.
Before you go,
yourself,
before you go, my friend.
Ooh, Jesus, help me with this phone. That flow won't come fix me phone, Mr. Brantley.
All right, well, I'm hearing you. Before you go, you said you wanted more people to join.
Yes, we need, especially some men. We need some men too. We need men, we need women.
Could you tell us what the criteria is for joining?
One of it is I want somebody who will be adaptable, dependable, accountable, and even anybody who will be willing for me to help groom them. because I believe in, well, I'm a person who believes in product, maybe because I was trained, maybe it's because I'm a natural instincts as well, but I want persons who would come in with ideas, persons who like to do planning, organizing, controlling, directing, coordinating, whatever your skills are within that I just mentioned on the product, you can come. You don't, as I said, you don't have to have a disability, but of course we welcome persons with disability because everybody could do something, you know, everybody could be a part. And I just want the society to go from strength to strength, that even if I step aside tomorrow, whether it's because of illness, whatever the situation might be, I just want to know that the society could continue, because we've had about 27 years, I think, just with unbroken years. And it's like I started the organization, and I just believe after this time, it's time for me to step aside. I know people in the public don't like to hear me say it, even persons in the society, but it's not a matter that I will step aside and leave the organization. But it's time for me to step aside that others can be there, that we can have good continuity. Because as I said, some of us are elderly. We might be stepping up and down and doing little things, but at the same time, we are up there with age. So I just want, as I said, persons who will be adaptable, dependable, accountable, you know, that sort of thing. We want that. Mm-hmm. We want that, because that thing, like some persons, even younger people would ask, "We're not free, man. How you get through with the society so long and we can't get a group for 3 months?" Mm-hmm. You know, but and I try to explain to them and some, because to be honest, it's not easy dealing with adults either. Sometimes you just let things pass, and you know that you can have a good relationship. Sometimes you have to let a lot of things pass, even with persons who come and support. And that's why when we have things happening, it's like lunches, I tell some persons, you come, you don't see what you want, before you make noise and carry on, just ask for Jennifer. And if I tell you it's in the oven, if I tell you they're being cut up, if I tell you wait a while, take my word that you can wait a while. You know, you want somebody who, when they come, they know what they're talking about. Right. And so that's how it is.
Let me ask you. So just to confirm for those who are listening, that you do not have to have a disability to join the group.
No.
Okay.
You could even have somebody with disability, but I find that persons who have persons with disability, they're the ones who don't really support them.
Oh,
it might sound bad.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is true. And what is so sad about it, and I say it, the persons, they're in a position, Mr. Brantley, they're in a position to buy a ticket or donate. And they don't. We call that bad-mindedness. You know, and sometimes I begin to call things by its name. So, okay. Maybe somebody might be vexed with Jennifer right now.
No, that's all right.
That's okay, because we can't see them anyway, so.
They say you can't see them even if they vex with you?
Oh, exactly.
Or you're something else.
We can't see them, so that is quite all right. But then, I mean, I love them, eh?
Yes.
But the same way I love my people with disability, and as I stand up for them, I think that their children, too, should see the need to understand. And that's why my daughter, you know, he rally. You understand? He rally. And so, if other people with children and siblings, whoever it is.
Yes.
Because, right, some people may not be in a position to give and give. But you could give us your time.
Absolutely.
Come help us feel good food. Come to the concert, pay a little $10, $15. We appreciate
I
you.
just said buy a little ticket for the meal. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, nothing is wrong with that. Okay. You understand what I mean?
All right.
But one day they might change.
Okay. We got
All
you.
The best.
All right. Thank
bye
you.
Bye.
And have a wonderful Christmas.
Yeah, you too.
Okay.
Yeah, bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is just 12 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock, and we're taking your calls on 869-469-1616 and 1700. Let's go right back to the telephones. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening. I'm doing well. Thank you.
This is Agnola.
Hi, Agnola. How are you?
I am quite lovely, thank you. It was on your show that I called in and asked the general public to come out and support Sleigh Bells and Symphony, especially the play Look Me Sin and Trouble. And I came back tonight to say thank you to all the people who showed up in their numbers. It was overwhelming, in a good way, of course. They laughed, they cried, they loved the show, and I want to just say thank you so much for supporting. Agnola Productions will be back in 2025 with even more drama, and I want to say we appreciate the support from the public, and we wish for their continued support, and to wish you and everyone just to have a Merry Christmas.
Well, let me take the opportunity to thank you for all that you are doing in terms of the arts, the performing arts more specifically, and to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas as well. I think when I spoke to you, you told me that your next production will be around Culturama, is it?
Yes, I'm going to have a very exciting show for Culturama. I just have to send in the notification. I've already booked, sending my paperwork to book the theater. It's going to be a full-length play, and it's definitely one that no one is going to want to miss because it's guaranteed to have the same effect. So I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your call, and I wish you and the family all the very best for the season and for the new year.
Thank you. You as well.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. So that is Agnola from Agnola Productions calling in. She's doing some really interesting work in terms of the performing arts here, and I'm very pleased to see the development of the arts in Nevis. We're not just talking about it. We've developed venues which are plug and play, and our people are stepping up and using those venues. Let me go back to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Mark. This is Linnell Nolan.
Mr. Nolan, how are you?
I'm calling on behalf of the Returning National Society of Nevis. Now, Mark, over the years, the Returning National Society of Nevis have been collecting food around the Christmas time in order that we can get hampers and take around the island to a number of needy persons. And Mark, I say the word needy people, not people who just want, people who are in need. And so we are planning on doing it this year again, and as a result of that, we have already taken a number of barrels with the permission of the stores, the supermarkets that we have contacted. And those supermarkets are Rams, Value Mart, and Best Buy, both in Charlestown and Gingerland. We have these barrels placed at the exit door of the supermarkets, and we have also put our signage on the barrels. We are now asking the general public if they can, find the opportunity to go and when they do their shopping, to buy something or some things and drop into these barrels, so that when we pick up these barrels, we will have more than enough to prepare a large number of hampers to take around Nevis for many of our needy people who would not have the opportunity to have something, in the area of food for Christmas, when a lot of us will be, really feasting. We have been doing it over the last years, and sometimes, Mark, when we go and you see the people, the condition of those people that we take those hampers to, you almost want to have tears running down your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So we are looking at people who are needy and not just people who want. Now, I made the promotion last night on the radio, and today I've been getting a lot of positive comments about it. So I said I would also do it tonight on your show, because I know your show reach a large number of people, and so we would like those people to realize that they could contribute, be a contributor to the fact that so many people are in need, and they can help in whatever way they can. So we're asking those people, when they go to the supermarkets, look for the barrel and put in some items so that we can be able to provide hampers to as many people as possible.
Mr. Nolan, can I ask a question or two? You're saying to put items. What kind of items specifically are you asking for?
Food items.
Food.
Food items.
So it doesn't matter tin goods, it doesn't matter what kind of food.
That's right, but non-perishable. Non-perishable goods.
Okay, good. That's good. So you don't want fruits and vegetables?
No, they have to be non-perishable.
Okay. Well, that's useful to know. I will tell you that we in the CCM are doing something similar. But we're doing it slightly differently in that what we intend to do for Christmas is to have some vouchers that we will hand out discreetly, of course, but those folks will then be able to buy whatever they want to buy. The reason for that, and just as we're sharing, the reason for that is that in the past we too tried to do hampers, but we ran into a bit of a problem because some people will tell you they don't eat sardines, or they don't like tuna, or some goods. In fact, we were putting things like corned beef and thing which the health authorities told us were actually bad for people, that we shouldn't stock that. So I'm just suggesting to you that a lot of these people could be elderly, they could be diabetic, things like that, so you'd have to be mindful as well of what kind of goods you're looking for.
We are aware of that, but we prepare these hampers, and once we prepare them, whatever we get, we put them in different bags.
Sure.
And once we finish with the bags, boxes, we normally don't say, okay, we're preparing this for that person or that person, that individual. But once we have these boxes prepared, we actually, with the assistance of Miss Prentice from the Community Services, try and get to know the names of many of the people that we usually deliver to. We also, on our own, sometimes know of people, so we deal with that aspect of it. But it's a matter that we realize there's a need out there.
Sure.
And we try to do our best to assist. And Mark, one of the things I mentioned, and we just had an executive meeting today, and one of the things that we mentioned, we will be monitoring this year the amount of goods we get, and based on the things that we get and the amount of stuff that we get, we might even be looking at approaching the supermarket and ask if they can be courteous enough to allow us to have those barrels year-round, because we know people need assistance year-round. I came from Canada just on Saturday, and up there they have these food banks which run all year round. I know my brother in Miami, or actually Fort Lauderdale, every other week, he and his wife, they go to the church, and the church collect food from the various supermarkets and big businesses, and they prepare these food packages. So they do that on Tuesdays. Then on Wednesdays, you find people would come and get their food, and it helps the community, put those poor persons who are needed. And it's one of the things that we can also do in Nevis. Nevis is a small place, but we could also adapt things that big countries do.
So I agree with you, Mr. Nolan, and I always like engaging with you, because one of the things I admire about you and others like you is that you bring your experiences from abroad and try to localize them, try to allow the local community to get the benefit of it. But one of the things that I've observed here is that our culture is perhaps a little different. What I mean by that is that maybe in those big countries people don't know you and all of that, so you're just another needy person. Here I have found in Nevis that somebody might well be in need, but they don't want their need to be known. There's still a sense of pride that some people have, that even though they're in need, And so a lot of times as a party, for example, when we do things, we do so in an anonymous way. What I mean by that is that they know they're getting something, but nobody else knows. So we're not taking pictures, we're not doing any of those things. I think that that is a concern, because sometimes when you have like a food bank, people may not be as willing to come publicly, because that shows, if you will, that they don't have a meal or they need a meal. You understand what I'm saying? So
yeah, but you see, Mark, one of the things is when you find people who run into that kind of category, it's people who want and not people who really need. But when you find people who are really in need, they go anywhere, they do anything to get that food. But people who just want, they are the ones who are ashamed that people would see them in food banks or whatever the case may be, or getting hampers and so on. When you are really in need, Mark, you pass up all kind of criticism.
all right, well, I hear you, and I wish you all the very best on this, in this venture. And I to encourage you. So you have the barrels at Rams and at where? Best Buy?
Rams, Best Buy, and Value Mart.
Value Mart.
And one of the last thing I want to mention, Mark, is even though I'm on your program tonight, the Returning Nationals is a non-political organization, or maybe I should put partisan, non-partisan political organization. And so when we are giving out these hampers, we don't inquire as to what party that person supports or anything like that. We just look at the need of the people that we are supporting.
Well, that is very useful to know, because need knows no party, and need is need. So if indeed that you are there to help people, then people need help, whoever they may happen to be. So I entirely agree with you, Mr. Nolan, and I encourage people to contribute. Just to remind listeners that you say that there are barrels at Rams, Value Mart, and at Best Buy, which are marked, and that they can buy and drop into the barrels as their donation.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mark, for your contribution in this area.
Well, before you leave, one other quick question. Forgive me.
Yeah.
But what is your cutoff?
We will be taking out the barrels next Monday.
That's next Monday.
Yeah.
So that's the what? The
16th. 16th, is it?
The 16th. Okay. Okay. Well, when you cut it out,
we then have to take it to a location where we have to do all the packaging and so forth.
Okay, so all right. Well, I was just asking because I thought you might have given a little extra time, but I understand you have the administrative bits of it to deal with. So next Monday, then. So you're encouraging people to put whatever they're going to put in there by next Monday.
By next Monday.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nolan. All the very best.
Thank you very much.
All right. Good, and all the best to you and your family for Christmas.
Same return to you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're taking your calls. It is now 25 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. And the numbers to call are 469-1616 and 469-1700. We go straight back to the phones and say good evening.
Yes, good night, Miss Honorable Brantley, and how are you doing?
I'm doing well. It is good to hear your voice.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm reading from Psalm 34, and I'm reading verse 8 and 9. O taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusteth in him. O fear the Lord, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that fear him. And Mr. Brantley, before I go, I would like to send out condolences to Amarel's family from the Chapman family. Okay? And Merry Christmas to you and family, and God bless.
Thank you so very much, and I wish you all the very best for Christmas as well, and for the new year when it comes. And thank you so much for your contribution to the show over the past year.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to hearing you in the new year, God willing.
God willing. Thank you. God bless you.
God bless.
All the best.
Yes.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Let's go back to the phones and continue to take the calls. Good evening. You're on the mark.
Good
Good evening, Honorable.
Good evening to you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for calling. This is our last show for the year, so I'm happy you got in.
Well, that's why glad I get in myself. Now, I hear you speaking about my leader, opposition leader. But, Honorable man, don't waste no time. And the lady, the lady ain't a politician. She's not a politician. She don't look like a politician. She don't look like a politician on the TV. Now, Honorable, I tell you so last week. Think young. Because I don't like to see all come up with a one mic and speak. It tries to have a mic where are you deaf? Come on, getting up with a one mic. So 2025 I would like to see that change. Not that old time way. And let me ask you a question. For a leader of a country, you think any children or child born a country should have problems getting a passport in a country where they're born? That's my intent for 2024. As a leader, answer the question. In this BVI, these children that have problems in getting passport where they born, because mine district leader in Portal here, Honorable Myron Walwick, tell them this year, give the people in them passport. They will say England was the problem or not. But England is not the problem. Or the COI was one of the challenges they should deal with. They could make a correction that they could have given the children in a passport. And Honorable, man, they surprised me as politicians. Giving children problems with getting passport with expats. Some other people listening who live here. It is not good, Honorable Mac. I stand up with some people don't like me to speak about it, but some people like to speak about it. I have friends don't like to hear me speak about it. Wife don't like to hear me speak about it. But I'm glad I get into you because it's something that is not nice. But children born in a country getting so much of problem in getting a passport. They have the privilege now to change it. And Honorable Myron Walden tell them it is time to give them the training passport. They wait till he went away and vote on it, and that's it. It is wrong. What do you think about that, Honorable? As a leader of a country, children born in this country getting problems with passport, getting passport. Some people are listening, but I don't care one. Because it is wrong with where you're born, where you're from. Honorable, where you're born, where you're from, right?
Yes, of course. But let me say this, that more and more some countries are moving now to say that you're not automatically entitled to a passport because you're born there. So in the UK, for example, you're not automatically entitled to a passport because you're born there, and I'm hearing the debate now in the United States as well, where there's some suggesting that the US is one of the last major countries where you automatically get a passport if you're born there, and they're saying the US should get rid of that system. In a lot of countries, you can only get a passport if you have connections through parents born there, or whatever the case may be. So that what you're talking about is an issue that is hotly debated around the world as to where somebody belongs. You see, some argue that people come there to have a child just to get the citizenship. So, for example, a lot of people from the Caribbean go to America to get their baby, because once they get the child on American soil, they automatically get a U.S. passport. Other countries is not so. So even if the child is born there, the child is not British, the child is not French, as the case may be. So that might be part of that debate that is going on. I don't know what the position in the BVI might be, but certainly I know in the UK, you don't automatically get a passport because you're born in the UK.
No, I just tell you that they had the privilege for the COI to change
it, okay.
That to change the law. That you could have given them the passport.
And they voted not to.
It was the English law.
Right.
So they had a chance that the politicians had a chance that they could have given the children the passport.
And how did they vote? Not to?
Not to.
Okay, I got you. Now I understand.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, got you.
They had the chance to do it. And they did not. Why we as black people, honorable, talking off one another, honorable?
But, Carl, I'm surprised because so many of the people in the BVI are not originally from the BVI.
Right.
So why would the politicians make that kind of decision? Because I would imagine all the constituencies in the BVI full of people from, what you all call them, Down Island people?
Yeah, Island people and all that.
Yeah. So how Island people gonna feel?
Well, they feel bad, but they don't have nobody who will speak out on these things. I just speak out on it.
But people like Myron family from Nevis? That's not so?
But they still call the island man say he from Tatola. that's why they bought him out last.
They say Myron is not from Tatola, you serious?
Yeah.
You are serious down there, man.
This is honorable.
Yes.
Some of people listening, you know the thing about it. You know who vote him out when I study? The same people. Our people who vote him out. Because more of them, more than them. You know, because why I speaking this way, honorable? It's the same children. What you deny passport is to do a lot for this country. A lot. You see the national song, what the BVI have? It's my daughter do it.
Your daughter do it?
Huh?
Your daughter, you say?
Yeah, my daughter and son do it.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And he had an icon award from there, go. And my son is to do it.
Fantastic.
I only telling you, these is the children you have to protect who can do good for the country. And if they have to pass with this kind of thing, what you think happen? You're dividing a country, honorable. That's my look about it. That's my thing I look about it. Because the guy Kyron McMaster, his background is from Antigua McMaster. He man of God is Dakota. But background is from Antigua. Think it out there. But this is the thing what bother me. Some people listening. This is the thing what bother me is these children who will live up country. And they got naturalized and all that going to Pastor. Well, the band, come on, Pastor. Well, Pastor, I wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And to all who listening to me, don't come back with a one mic, Pastor. You please put up. You have a mic by you. Thank you on the Pastor. I mean, have the Pastor. I remember put up my all right.
All right. Well, I'll certainly we continue to try to improve. So I certainly think that's worthwhile looking at. So I hear you, and we will have to have a discussion internally about it. Okay, brother. Thank you.
All right.
And thanks for your calls over the course of this year. This is our final show, so I want to wish you and your family all the best for the season, and have a wonderful New Year when it comes.
All right, good.
All right. God bless you, and God bless all the people in the British Virgin Islands. Really appreciate the call. All right. Take good care. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now 25 minutes to the hour of 10. And we have, therefore, 25 minutes left we're taking your calls. We know that some folks are trying to get in, so we ask you please to call now, 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. For those who are just tuning in, this is On the Mark, straight talk across the Narrows. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, and this is our final show for 2024. We're grateful to God for bringing us thus far. We're thankful that we have had the health and strength. I want to thank the Honorable Troy Liebert, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, because they've filled in on this show time and time again when I have been absent, and so I want to thank them for their service. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Just call your name and here you are. Good evening.
Is that so?
I was thanking you for hosting the show on so many occasions during the course of the year. So the microphone is yours. Go ahead.
All right, sir. Well, I was listening, but I had to turn off the radio to call. Anyway, I just want, first of all, to extend some condolences to the family of the late Georgina Lawrence, Miss George, from right here in Hanley's Road. She was someone who worked long and hard in the Department of Agriculture. I think practically almost all of her life she worked in agriculture, and she was an excellent worker. Small in stature, but a powerful lady. Had a lot of chat and always very jovial, very pleasant as well. So I want to extend condolences to her family, the children, the grandchildren, the extended family. She will be missed, and condolences to them. Also want to say condolences to the family of the late Amaral, who we know as Kitchener from Bath Village, and to, of course, to the family of the late Leonora Wenham as well. And, of course, I wanted to join with you as well, because we've had some tragedies there in St. Kitts. Join with you in extending condolences. My heart goes out to those young persons who would have lost their lives there in St. Kitts over the weekend and this morning. And I know it's a difficult situation for them, but I wanted to join with you as well in just sounding the warning to our drivers, both in St. Kitts and Nevis. We are coming into the season now of merrymaking. People are going to be drinking and, partying a lot. But we have to be mindful. Sometimes we tend to get carried away when we are at a party or when we are at a function. We have to be mindful that we are going on the road, and sometimes people's lives are in our hands. And so we must be very, very particular in terms of, and be very careful on the road in our driving. Sometimes you have to drive for you and other people, and we do have some reckless drivers on the road, but I'm asking people to please drive with due care and attention. Don't overdo it on the drinking if you know you have to go behind the wheels, because you might be killing someone else. That is the problem. Sometimes you're reckless and you take somebody else's life or some other person's life in the process. And so I'm asking, urging our drivers to please, please, please be careful on the roads during this season and always. We have great roads now. We have invested in roads, but that does not mean you should be reckless on the roads. So please. On another note, I want to say thanks to folks who would have come out and support the Empire Sports Club 35 and over dance this past weekend. Of course, our club is celebrating our 45th anniversary this year, 45 years, and we want to say thanks to those who would have supported us in the activities that we would have had. I also want to take this opportunity, of course, this is the final program for the year, and I would like to take this opportunity to just say thanks to the persons in my ministry and departments that I'm in charge of, that I have oversight of, for your dedication and your hard work over the past year. Of course, I also want to say thanks to my constituents for continuing to being there for me over the past year as well, my constituents of St. George, Gingerland. And I want to take this opportunity to wish all those in my ministry and those in the constituency and all of Nevis all the very, very, very best for a happy and holy and wonderful, enjoyable holiday season. And I'm really hoping that 2025 could bring us a lot of prosperity and abundance and good health and productivity. Of course, I think we would have had in Nevis as well, the Honorable Premier, I think we would have had a pretty successful year, and we ought to be thankful for that. We here in Nevis, we have a lot to be thankful for. So So as we celebrate, let us continue to give thanks. As we reflect, let us continue to give thanks, give God thanks for what we would have achieved over the year, and let us continue as a small island to continue to work together hand in hand as we press forward into 2025 to continue to build this little beautiful island that we call home, this island of Nevis. Thank you very much for the opportunity to say a few words this evening, and once again, best wishes to you and to all of Nevis for a wonderful Christmas and blessed and happy 2025.
Thank you very much, my brother, my cousin, my deputy premier. I really appreciate all that you do, and I appreciate your contribution to this show. Thank you for the call. I want to join you in extending condolences to the family of Miss George and also to the family of Miss Wenham. I would have known Miss George, of course, on my days in Handlers Road and thereafter. And as you said, a small woman in stature, but a hard worker and a hot mouth. You can't remember her mouth.
Yes, don't talk about that.
You can't forget her mouth at all. And then Miss Wenham. So I thank you for reminding me of those. I want to express my condolences as well, and say that our prayers and thoughts are with the families, and to join you in extending warm wishes to all the people, especially in your constituency there in Gingerland,
yes,
where I was born. I want to extend
where you're from. Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Okay.
All right, bye.
All right, good. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Warm wishes.
Hello?
Hi, good evening.
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good evening, Honorable Premier. I'm just calling in as well for your last show to be able to wish the members and general Division public a Merry Christmas and a very prosperous upcoming 2025. I also have to echo some of the sentiments of Minister Evelyn and yourself with the condolences to families such as Miss Wenham. But for those of us who are still here, I want to encourage us to have a very safe Christmas as we celebrate Christmas and Carnival in St. Kitts. We have to be able to be safe on the road, safe when we're having a good time, and just remember to, the reason for the season. Spend time with family, do what we love in a safe way.
Thank you very much for the call, and you assume that people know who you are. But people, I don't think, would recognize the voice. So
that's true. I don't call in very often. So this is the Honorable John Elizabeth, and so I just want to thank the public as well for all their support throughout the year, and definitely all of the staff in the Ministry of Health, Gender Affairs and Social Empowerment, from the PS to the cleaners, everyone across the board definitely shaped this year for us, and it was a good year, and we're working towards an even better, stronger, more prosperous 2025.
Thank you very much. So that's the Honorable Janet Nisbet calling in to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you very much, and thank you for all that you've done as the new minister, young minister. I believe that you are blazing a path and definitely contributing in a significant way. So thank you, and thank you for your support and the value that you bring to the cabinet. I think that this year has, by any measure, been a good year for the island of Nevis, and for that we are truly grateful.
Thank you, Premier. And your support, as well as the support of the other members of Cabinet as well, has been definitely invaluable. It's a great team to be able to work with, and it's the best decision I've made in life to be part of this very effective team.
Thank you.
To move Nevis forward.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, we're going to stick with the phones and take your calls. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. We have 15 minutes left, and so we're trying to take as many calls as we can get, calling in on those numbers. So let's go to the phones and say good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Premier Brantley.
Good evening.
And Christmas greetings to you and the entire listening audience.
Christmas greetings to you as well, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good. And I'm really heartened by the response for the A1 Farms Nevis Coconut Festival that just happened last week, Saturday. It was 2 weeks ago that I called in on your show to just appeal to the general public to come out and support the A1 Farms Coconut Festival, and I must say it was a real success. I just want to take some time out to say kudos to my sponsors, the National Bank Group of Companies, Brewery, Lefko Equipment Rentals, Pyramid Entertainment. They all stepped forward and ensure that this festival, the inaugural festival, was a great success. I mean, I really couldn't do it without the A1 Farms family, all the workers, my own family, the support of the many volunteers. About 25 people stepped in just to help and then to make sure that this Coconut Festival was the success that it has been. I must say I'm heartened by the help that I got from the NIA as well, the various departments, Agriculture Department, Education Department, Public Works, Ministry of Health, Youth and Sports, Water Department, and special mention must be made of the principal, Mr. Sparrows, at the CSS school to allow us to use the villa grounds, and the last but not least, the many patrons who came and supported the various vendors. I mean, we had stuff there from coconut water to pina colada, from coconut johnny cakes to sugar cake. You just name anything coconut, and we had it there. So I just want to say thanks, and next year would be bigger and better. I saw you, and I must say that you brought some warmth to my heart, as well as the other ministers, Minister Janelle, Minister Evelyn, Minister Rand, and there was quite a bit of people that, too much to mention right now, but I'm really, really happy the way this thing turned out.
Maki, listen, I want to thank you for the call, but I also want to go on record to commend you. I think people who know you know that you are Nivision to the core. You went and spent some time in the icebox in Canada, but you came home, and since you've been here, you have been involved as a businessman, and more lately, you have been involved in a significant way in agriculture. And I believe that you have done a lot to revolutionize agriculture here on the island of Nevis. When you first mooted this idea of this Coconut Festival, I thought to myself, nobody has ever really attempted that on Nevis. And we know how valuable coconut is. They say that you don't miss the water till the well run dry. We used to have coconut banging dog here until, of course, lethal yellowing killed all of our coconut trees, our coconut palms. So I think in your way, in bringing attention to it, in bringing the coconut back, the way, for example, even as a government, we've planted over 5,000 coconut palms at Indian Castle, for example. I'm told that they are already bearing. That we are slowly building back to what Nevis was, and I think what many of our people, especially those living overseas, would remember. I saw a photo recently of the old Sunshines, and it was really incredible to see the number of coconut palms that used to be on Pinny's Beach. But we lost them due to this disease, and we're building back. And so I think that this, for me, was such a bold venture, because it was bringing awareness to coconut, not just about coconut water or jelly, as we say, but all the different uses of coconut. And I want to thank you for that. The event, I believe, probably would have been even better had it not been clashing with so many different events. You recall that you had to change the date, and I suspect that that would have had an impact. And also, of course, we had some rains on the day. But I had to come, Maki. I arrived late, but I had to come because I wanted not just to tell you that I'm in support, but to come there and support for myself. And I had some coconut water there. I think I told you that I thought the guys put sugar in it, because I've never had jelly water taste that sweet. It was really, really superb. And I had a good time the time I was there. I couldn't stay for long because I had other commitments, but I want to pledge the government's support to this initiative, because I feel that it is something which is novel and something which can take root if nurtured the right way. And I believe that we ought to commend you publicly for this initiative. So thanks to you and your entire team at A1 Farms. I think you are leading the way.
Yeah, you're quite welcome. One of the things that was driving us is that same little yellowing that you spoke about.
And a few years ago, we decided to start hatching the nuts, and I've sold quite a bit. We've started to repopulate Nevis. Just Saturday alone, we sold about 75. So, and the orders are still coming in. I've got hatched on hand right now over 2,500. So, I've sent these coconuts all the way to St. Croix. So, you know, it's catching on. It's going to take some time, but I think we're onto something good. And thank you for your time, and all the best to everyone for Christmas, and 2025 may be prosperous for all our families.
Mackie, before you go, Mackie, would you tell us what kind of coconut palms you're selling?
Well, there's three kinds. I've got the green one, which is the Malayan. There's a yellow, and there's an orange. All of these are dwarfs.
Okay.
And usually we get fruit between 18 to 26 months.
For them to start bearing?
Right.
Okay. So you have three types, and you mind sharing the cost so that people know?
Well, I've been, the regular price is $75, but for the Coconut Festival and up until this coming Sunday, we'll have them on sale for $60 a piece.
$50. And if they want to call to get some coconut palms, how do they get in touch?
662-4989, or the office number 469-8001.
Okay.
That's 662-4989 or 469-8001.
All right, my brother. Thank you very much.
And all the best.
And I wish you and the family all the best for Christmas and for the New Year.
Likewise to you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. We still have some time. We have about 8 minutes left, so we're taking your calls. 869-469-1616, 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you'd like to be a part of this, our final show for 2024. We've had, I believe, an excellent year here on the island of Nevis. God has been merciful to us. Yet again, He has spared us any serious damage from storms and the like. We went through the hurricane season with no serious damage or serious encounters with hurricanes, and we have a lot to be grateful for. Let's take this call. Good evening, you're On the Mark.
Good evening, sir. It's Premier.
Good evening.
Question though. Some time ago, I raised a concern in regards to the seclusion or the blockage of a particular beach, if it is Case Bay, Mosquito Bay, whatever. You said you're going to look into it. Can you help me with what's the result of that?
Caller, I was not able to ascertain that there was any blockage. I was told that at some point somebody had tried to put an a chain or something there, but that had been removed at some point. So that is what I was told. I have not therefore been able to ascertain that there is any current blockage at that beach blocking the public access.
Okay, I will check it out again myself and photograph it and probably send to you.
That would be very useful. I don't know if anybody has gone to put back anything there, but that's what we discovered when I did do my checks.
Okay, I hope that he has been removed, because it's come out of order. Somebody from here block off beach, which are not entitled to.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Second thing, I spoke to you a couple weeks ago and I made mention in regards to the yellow, the no parking zone in Bar City. I thought I answered the question, but when I came up the line, you said that the question was not answered and asked what the remedy to the situation.
Yes.
I'm so sorry that I wasn't clear, but my remedy strongly is to remove part of the lines, at least those by the Bank of Nevis and that section.
Yeah, but I hear you, but the simple point that I was trying to get at, caller, if we continue to import vehicles at the rate at which we are importing them, then even if you removed all the yellow lines in Charlestown, just listen to me carefully, if we removed all the yellow lines in Charlestown, if we continue to import vehicles at the rate at which we're importing them, then in another year, 2 years, 3 years, you're going to be calling and saying the same thing, there's not enough parking. So we have to find some alternative ways to deal with this issue, because the issue, yes, I can understand people say I need a place to park, but the issue is being exacerbated. This year alone, I believe Nevis is going to have an extra 1,000 vehicles on the road. So how do we deal with it? Some say, oh, you have to go fill in the bogs, do whatever, create a parking lot. All of that sounds good. But once an island this size continues to import vehicles at the rate at which we're importing them, we're going to continue to have that problem of congestion. So that's why I was asking you, what in your opinion was the overall solution?
But with all due respect, with all utmost respect to you and your point of view, those yellow lines has been there since at least before the Samuel Hunkins highway driver, whatever they call it, was made. I think it was made in the mid-90s or somewhere in the 90s it was created. Before that, there was parking space. Parking was allowed on the area the banks is. On the side where it was a two-way street, parking was not allowed on the side where TDC is. But on the bank of Nevis, parking was allowed. Now they made it a one-way street, and around maybe some years later, they put yellow lines on it. It was at the same time. I don't remember what time, but there was thing, and now it's like you're creating a solution before the problem comes. So you made mention of the volume of vehicles that we have, and they're getting in, and all that is that may be so. But work with me here. I'm trying to understand. If parking, this is a piece of road that can handle 3 vehicles simultaneously. Because I've seen it happen. I've seen vehicles park on both sides before. When it was a two-way, I've seen vehicles park on both sides and vehicles passing between without any issues. If vehicles is parked on that road, how in the world is it going to create an issue? And that's my concern. Anyway, time is not in our favor. Yes. I would like to answer some point of time, but if you could answer off when I come off thing, but time is not in our favor. I want to echo the sentiment of the former caller, Mr. Evelyn, in regards to these deaths.
You'd have to hurry, caller. We run out of time.
Right. No, time is not in my favor, because I really want us to explain something. But this is the bottom line, sir, that we are in trouble. As a people and nation, I don't believe in coincidences. We are in trouble. So as a people, I appeal strongly that we pray for our people, we pray for our nation, because our nation needs God. Thank you much for your indulgence, sir. Have a wonderful Christmas and a beautiful New Year. My praise for you, according to 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 1, we have to pray for our leaders, and we pray for you as well. Have a wonderful evening, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And it is 10 o'clock. It means the band is striking up. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for all who called. Thank you to all who called. Thank you to all of our callers, but special thanks to the Honorable General Nisbet, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, who called in to share their Christmas greetings with members of the public, and to thank their staff that really would have served the ministries well. I too want to thank all workers in the government, all the cabinet members, all who have contributed in a way, large or small, to the success of the island of Nevis over this past year. I want to thank my beloved constituents of St. John's at the local level and St. John's and St. Paul's at the federal level. I want to thank all the people of Nevis who continue to work hard and continue to contribute in a meaningful way to the development of this island. It is Christmas, and you will see me because I'll be out and about. We certainly will be out there doing our part for those who are less fortunate, to ensure that everybody has something on the table for Christmas. I want to thank you all, wish you a Merry Christmas and a wonderful and prosperous New Year. God bless you, Nevis. I love you. God bless you, St. Kitts. I love you. I know we have a lot of listeners in St. Kitts, and so I express warm greetings to them. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year as well. To all of our listeners overseas, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you. And for those who are in cold countries, Nevis is very nice and warm at this time of year. Sugar Mass in St. Kitts is going to be fun, so please come home and enjoy your country. That's our show for tonight and last show for the year. It is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on Vaughan Radio. Good night. Thank you to all the beautiful people here at Vaughan Radio who have been with me all year round. I thank them. I thank my brother Weber Herbert for this privilege. I thank Daniel Brantley for keeping this show in the air for nearly 20 years by paying the bill. I'm grateful. We remain the only talk show, prime time, which is commercial free. And so, the music has come to an end, and so have I for this period. Thank you, good night, and God bless and keep you. Have a wonderful Christmas and a merry and happy and prosperous New Year.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not